Basilisk on a Yellow Field by John Cronshaw. I wore green on the day I performed my first kill. Alchemical orbs cast soft white light across the faces of 24 children as they danced to the drummers and pipers performing a traditional Österreich folk song at the far end of the great hall. The adults looked on in their green finery. The men wore matching coats, tailored from silk. The women wore long hooded dresses. A red-faced dancer stared at me as she swayed from left to right, turning and twisting her hands in time with the music. I smiled, but my smile was not returned. There was fear in those eyes. My dagger rested cold against my skin. Though secured to my hip, I feared its edge might cut into my flesh, bringing out its dormant power. The scent of roasted pork hung in the air as I examined the revellers' faces. I took care to note the features of each person in an effort to recall something, anything. A woman's face sparked a memory when I saw her from the side, but when she turned to me with an unsure smile, it was clear we shared no recognition. Just one smile, just one nod of recognition was all I craved. Someone to tell me who I am, to tell me my name. I moved left along the wall as the beat continued. Though the festivities were held in honour of Jorg Schultz's 50th year, the Viscount had retired to his chamber during the meal's final course. I stepped around a stone bust of my target, expressionless on a marble plinth, and skirted past a tapestry of a knight bearing the sigil of a black basilisk on a yellow field, thrusting a lance into the belly of a green-scaled wyvern. Reaching the end of the great hall, I slipped through a half-open door. The alchemical glow faded as I made my way along a bare stone corridor, illuminated by wall candles. My blade's handle brushed against my side as my steps grew urgent. I ascended a spiral stairway until I reached a thick door in varnished oak. I placed my ear against the door and listened. Hearing nothing, I turned the handle. I held my breath, pulled up the hood of my dress, removed my shoes, and stepped through the door. The corridor was dark, and the floorboards cold beneath my soles. A faint glow seeped out from beneath the door at the end of the passage. I reached into my dress and drew my dagger, my hands trembling. The blade was a deep black, much deeper than the darkness of the passage. I unhooked the skirt from my dress and freed myself from the corset, dropping them in a heap next to me. I stepped towards the door and teased its handle. My heart thundered in my chest as I pushed the door open. Fire burned in a hearth along the right-hand wall. Above it, a portrait of a long-dead Viscount looked on with a dark, disinterested gaze. Thick green drapes hung in front of a window overlooking the Brawn Sea. I heard a shuffle to my left. Our eyes met. It was the Viscount. "What is the meaning of this?" I said nothing and pricked a forefinger with the blade's tip. The Viscount's eyes widened as my blade turned to fire. I jumped back on my toes as he tipped his chair towards me. Jorg unsheathed a short sword, as black as my own. He rolled up a sleeve and sliced across his forearm, turning his sword to fire. A wolfish grin rose beneath his thick blonde moustache. Nobody had warned me about this. My hands went slick with sweat. I danced on my tiptoes, feinted left, then right, trying to draw him into dropping his guard, to making a mistake. "Who sent you?" I shook my head. How could I answer him? His sword shot up in a broad vertical arc. I hopped to the right and stabbed forward with a twist of my wrist. He jerked his shoulder to one side. We both straightened, regaining our stance, our eyes locked. We circled each other. I dived forward and quickly twisted, striking the back of his leg. He let out an agonized scream as the blade hissed, its magic tearing through his flesh, burning him from within. I shifted to parry his swing, but instead of the expected ricochet, his blade went through my own, like two jets of water crossing each other's paths. His sword point nicked my arm. I cried out, its burning heat welling inside. Neither of us bled from our wounds, but I sensed Jorg's pain as it spread through his body. His wound was much deeper than my own. It was only a matter of time. He fell backwards, looking up at me in terror. "What do you want?" He spluttered his words, his breath shallow. I stood over him. His sword returned to black as it dropped from his convulsing hand. I pulled my hood down and pushed my blade into his chest. The stench of burning flesh filled my nose. "It's you," he gasped. "What?" I pulled my dagger from his chest. "Wait! Who am I?" I leaned down and shook him. "Please," I pleaded. "Tell me who I am." But he was already dead. The end. Thanks for listening. To find out more about John Cronshaw and his work, visit johncronshaw.com. Subscribe now so you don't miss out on future stories. Basilisk on a Yellow Field is copyright 2017 by John Cronshaw. All rights